Welcome to this video in the QPSMR Going Deeper series. In this video we're going to be exploring the responses worksheet. Now this video is suitable for users of both QPSMR Insight and QPSMR Companion. The features are pretty much the same, they're just in slightly different places, and really the purpose of this video is to explain what each of the features mean and when you should apply them and how you should apply them. So we're going to start with QPSMR Insight and look at what each of these features mean. And there's no supporting files for this video because it really is just a tutorial taking you around all of the options that are available. So we're going to start by inserting a question here. I'm going to call it question 1. I'm going to switch this to single, and I'm going to put a rating question in. How do you rate our service? And I'm going to go down to the responses worksheet. Now the first thing that's not always obvious here is that when you hit enter or you click on the insert responses button, you do all your work in this box here underneath where it says text. This box at the bottom is really just a list of what it is you've got active at any time. So if I type very good in here, it'll get echoed down the bottom here. But as we'll see in a minute, if I want to make an edit to any of this, you don't edit it down the bottom, you edit it in the text box, having selected the response you want to edit. Now for very good, I'm going to use this option here and use the value score. So I'm going to type in here a 2, and that gives it a score, which means that every time this question is tabulated, it will assign a value 2 to very good, and any statistical options that are open on any particular table will be displayed using that score. So mean score, standard deviation, standard error, all those sorts of things will automatically then come out when you with the value 2 applied to very good when you apply those options. So let's put 2 in there. So let's go very good. Let's have another response here, quite good, and a value score of 1. If I hang your cursor over that, you can see it's actually a lot easier, neither good nor poor. I can just left click on my mouse and it'll automatically put me in the right place. Hit enter, put quite poor, click on the mouse, -1, and very poor, click on the mouse, -2. And if I want something like a don't know, I can assign no score to that, and QPS will automatically know that that's to be excluded from any mean score calculations. So it won't try and assign a value of 0 or anything else to that particular response. It'll just exclude it from all the statistical calculations, whereas these will automatically have those scores applied. And I can go back in and change those, edit those, use a large number of decimal places, and so on. Now to move around this list or to make changes, say I wanted to make we don't know to not sure, I don't double click and edit it down here. Nothing happens if I double click down here to edit those texts. I have to go up here to edit it and type in not sure, and then that will allow me to change the text. To navigate around the text, you've got these buttons here. So you've got the first, if I click on that, I'll go to the first response will be activated, very good, and I could edit that. I can go to the last one, I can go to the previous one and the next one to navigate, or I can go to a particular response. So if I had 100 responses, I wanted to change the 53rd one, I could just type 53 in there. In this case, I've just typed 3 and it's taken me to the 3rd response so that I can edit either the text up here or give it a different value, which I don't want. Cut, copy, delete and paste are pretty self-explanatory. Just like any other software, you can highlight those using shift keys and so on to move or cut different responses. And now we move down to the options that are in this area down the bottom here, and we're going to work through each of those, and we're going to jump around a little bit here because these options have different purposes for different types of questions and different types of situations. So we're going to be jumping around a little bit more than perhaps we would in most videos. So for this one, the first thing that actually is relevant here, I might want to put a reject category on this. So if I click on not sure and apply the reject category to that not sure category, you can see abbreviation of reject comes out here so that I can see that I've selected it. And what that will mean is that anybody who doesn't answer 1 through to 5 will end up in the not sure. So regardless of data entry of whether they key in a 6 or not, anybody who hasn't answered 1 to 5 will automatically appear in the not sure category. And when that data is output, it will have a code 6 assigned physically to the data as though it's been punched a 6 but actually recoded as a 6 for you. Now this is subtly different from a user-defined reject category, which means that it doesn't get a data location. The data isn't assigned to code 6, it's just left blank. But in analysis within QPS, it will automatically put anybody who hasn't answered 1 to 5 into that 6 response and show it. So it's subtly different. It means if you were to supply this data to a client, they wouldn't see a code 6, it would just be blank. So it's slightly different, and sometimes it's better if clients want data to assign a code 6 to it in that particular way. As for the data location, well, that will come out by default in codes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we wanted to assign the data location or field that was used, we'd have had to set that into the project by setting the project global settings locations fix switch or locations switch, so that you can actually assign a data location to each response. Now that's covered in the questions worksheet setting video in this going deeper series. Alright, so we've looked at some options there, and we've looked at the first two on the list here. The next two we're going to look at are rank start and rank finish. So I'm going to save that question now and put a different type of question in. I'm now going to put a multiple response question in, so I'm going to insert a question. And question 2 is going to be a multi. Which brands have you heard of? And we're going to work through some responses here. I'm going to key in brand A, brand B, brand C, brand D, and brand E, and I'm going to put other and none on the bottom of that list. Now, this form looks pretty much the same from a single and multi. You'll only get into this form, of course, if you've got responses, which means it has to be a single response question or a multi-response question. You wouldn't get into this form if it's an integer, for example. But now some other options come into play. So, for example, here I might want to rank my brands on my tables so that the highest brand goes to the top of the table and the lowest goes to the bottom. So if more people chose brand C than any other brand, I want that to go to the top, whereas if brand A was the lowest, I'd want it to go to the bottom. Now the way we do that is we set the start and finish of where we want ranking to be performed. So I'm going to click rank start for brand A, I'm going to click rank finish for brand E, and what that will do is it will order these in descending order, so the highest ranked brand goes to the top, but it will leave other and none anchored at the bottom. If you wanted other to be ranked as well, you would move that end down to other, but I actually think it's probably preferable to keep other and none down the bottom. Now the other feature that I find useful here is on the none, I might want to check this box which says single response only if present. So although this is a multiple response question, I don't want anybody to choose none unless they picked nothing else. So if they can't pick brand A, B, C and none, it doesn't make sense. So I want to stop that and restrict that at data capture so that they can only choose none if they chose nothing else. So that's pretty much done that question. Now we're going to move along to the other options here and look at those. Now these are, I think, slightly dangerous. These certainly ones that should be used with care and are not used very frequently. Now, new page for this response means that a new page will get false. So if I check that option for other, it will mean it will put on the first page of a table brands A to E, ranked in descending order, and it will put other than none on a new page. Now, it's unlikely you'll want that, and you generally don't need to worry about that because QPS will automatically throw a new page when it can't fit rows on a table. So that's rare that you want to consider that. You might just want to make it look neater by choosing where a page is split in a text table. It's more common when you've got a banner with many data points. So you might analyze all or most of your questions by age, gender, region, income, working status, and so on. And you might decide that you want age, gender, and region on the first page, but move working status and income level to a second page. And so you would choose the first response of income status to throw a new page, so that it would automatically throw a new page horizontally when it hit that particular response, and that would be in a variable. And that's probably the more common place that you use a new page when you're building a big variable and you want to choose where a new page is thrown. Base for following responses is another unusual option and it has to be used with great care. What it will mean that wherever you set it, everything else will get percentaged on that. Now that would not be appropriate here. I have seen variables built where this is reasonably useful to use. So you might have a two-part question that says, do you own a motorbike? Yes, no. And the people that say yes, you ask them the make and the model of the motorbike, but you only want the makes and models based on people who said yes, they owned a motorbike. So there you might construct a variable that went yes, no, then yes again, so that you can use it as a base, and then all the brands of motorbikes. And on that second yes, before the brands of motorbikes, you might check this option here, base for following responses, so that the makes of motorbikes were only percentaged on those that said yes, they had a motorbike. Now that's not something to use very frequently, or you'd want very frequently, but it's quite a powerful feature, but it has to be used with great care. Alright, so let's look at some other features now. I'm going to take these options back off. So let's just take the ranking off here. And I'm going to save this question. Now, one of the options on the question worksheet is to randomize the responses. So I'm going to check that box now. Now what that will do is it's going to randomize my 7 responses I've got here. Now it's highly likely, and that's a good reason, there's a good reason for doing that. We want the brands to appear in a different order on CAPI or CATI questionnaires so that they get evenly distributed with each of the brands appearing in a different place in the order. But we probably don't want other than none to be randomized as well. So I'm going to put a fixed position on other, select none, and put a fixed position on that. And so what it will do now is it will randomize the order of brands A, B, C, D, and E, but other and none will always appear at the bottom no matter what. So that's quite a sensible thing to do when you use that randomize feature on the questions worksheet. All right, let's look at some of the other options that we have here. Another option here is ignore response filter. Now, you can apply a filter to your responses, and that can be a way of checking data actually, so you can run an edit on your data and find any combinations of responses that are not appropriate. But you do have an option to ignore that at data entry. So we could put a filter on here for this response, and then we could ignore it at data entry, but then check it when we come to do editing. So that's quite a useful function that you can apply. It's not terribly common, but it's something that's quite useful to use from time to time. So, and also I should say that the filters are covered in a separate video in a bit more detail in another going deeper video. All right, let's go back to the other options. Now, zero suppressed means that if it happens to be 0% or 0 on a table, the item will disappear. So at the moment we've got none down here, and now I've checked the zero suppressed. What that will mean is that if that happens to be nobody, it will not appear. The row none will disappear from the table. Now that's much more commonly used on questions where you've got a not stated on the end, where let's say you've got males, females and not stated. It's quite common to want to see the balance so it adds to 100%. So if there's 2% of people who haven't said what gender they are, you get a 2% not stated appearing on the table. However, if that's 0%, you don't want to see 0% not stated, and zero suppressed means that it will take it away again. Let's continue. So suspend input here is rather like the suspend input on the questions worksheet. It's like a hidden response. A refuse input means it's there, but you can't actually use it at data capture. These four options here all apply to the printed questionnaire that you can create using the Create Questionnaire on the project menu. They're only appropriate really if you're creating a printed questionnaire. So a blank line means that under a particular response you want a blank line. A line of dashes means you get a line of dashes, and underscores mean you get underscores under there. Similar here, again only on a printed questionnaire, you get no routing instructions. You get question routing here, so if you choose that option, you can say that anybody who chose this response goes to question 2. So if they chose none, they go to question 2. Now this is purely textual, it has no impact on what actually physically happens at data entry. It won't make people go to question 2. It's just a piece of text to appear as an instruction, if you like, to an interviewer on a printed questionnaire. And similarly, text routing here has the same effect. It's just an instruction, so you could say something like read instructions below, because if somebody says none here, you might want to take some action to see whether they qualify for the survey, or perhaps get asked a subsequent question, or something else that you want interviewers to carry out during the course of the interview. Again, that's just a piece of text and has no bearing on the interview itself. Additional text here, these are additional text rather like the question that appear before or after a response, or are instructions to the person doing data entry, so they're just lightly additional text there. And here we've got how you can apply a filter to an individual response. We're going to cover that topic in a separate video on filters in the Going Deeper series. So that's taken you around pretty much the options on a responses worksheet. I'm going to save that, so I've got it. And let's save that to my survey. Let's now go over to the QPSMR companion and just see what happens there. It's pretty much more of the same, so if we insert a question here, call it question 1, go to the responses worksheet, add a response, and say yes. You can see now that when we get to that response, same sort of principles involved here. We can have the options hidden down, if you like, these two buttons here. So you'll see the input options here, single response only, fixed, and so on, response filter, embedded, reject. So all of those are pretty much the same as we saw just now for on the question worksheet settings, same rules. Analysis here, you'll see the other ones tuck down the analysis feature, so to always suppress this, rank, start, finish, but pretty much the same things, and the score value here if you wanted to apply a score to that. So really it's pretty much the same when you come to use the QPSMR companion. They're just located in a slightly different place. So that completes this video on the responses worksheet. I hope it's been useful to you, and thank you for watching.